This is the poorest country in the world, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, with an average income of less than $500 and a poverty rate over 70%. Yet, the DRC has over $24 trillion worth of resources, such as a third of the world's diamonds and cobalt, 70% of its coltan, which is a resource needed to make smartphones, and a tenth of its copper. So this begs the question, how does the poorest country on Earth have $24 trillion? Well, to understand that, we need to understand why the DRC is so poor. While the extent of their poverty is world-leading, being poor isn't uncommon in this region of Africa, with it being home to some of the other poorest countries such as Rwanda and Burundi, who are 9th and 3rd poorest respectively. But why is the DRC so especially poor? Well, they weren't always the poorest nation. In fact, upon their independence from Belgium, they were the second most industrialized nation in all of Africa. And immediately after, their struggle started. Several provinces, including the massive forested province of Katanga, started secessionist movements, and this unrest caused many of the remaining Europeans to flee. After not receiving support from the UN, the Congolese Prime Minister Lumumba, I hope I pronounced that right, turned to the Soviet Union for help. Angered by Soviet involvement in the conflict, Joseph Mobutu, who was supported by the US and Belgium, replaced Lumumba, who was removed unconstitutionally by the president. Mobutu and the Congo ended up winning the Civil War in 1965. And here's the thing about popular, foreign-backed, successful generals in weak nations. They tend to form dictatorships, and Mobutu was no exception. He soon established a one-party system and declared himself head of state. At least there were elections, although the variety left something to be desired. Mobutu, Mobutu, Mobutu. I wonder which one I'm going to choose. This civil war obviously negatively impacted the country and its economy, but what hurt it even more is something incredibly common in dictatorships: corruption. It turns out, giving one person total control with no oversight leads to them making decisions based on their own self-interest. Who would have thought? In 1997, the people were tired of his rule, and Mobutu was ousted by the military. This was then followed by a war with Uganda and Rwanda. Mobutu's replacement was Laurent Kabila, who was assassinated in 2001 and was then replaced by his son. Democracy was finally restored in the Congo in 2006, after it was 50 years of one-party rule. Although, interestingly enough, Kabila's son was elected again. Even since 2006, there have been many different armed rebellions which have killed and displaced millions. This instability has made it difficult for the Congo to use its natural wealth to enrich its citizens. Despite having a third of the world's diamonds, they export only $240 million worth each year. Even the resources they do manage to extract large amounts of, such as copper, don't provide meaningful wealth creation for its citizens due to low wages. Other countries that have large amounts of natural resources have managed to capitalize on this wealth, such as Saudi Arabia, whose discovery of oil catapulted their average income due to good governmental policy. Yet it's hard to regulate and develop a nation that struggles to keep itself together. As a result of its instability, the government has difficulty collecting taxes. For instance, $88 million go untaxed in the mining sector each year. Additionally, with how valuable some of its resources are, and with how little border control there is, it's cheaper to smuggle than to pay tax. Up to a third of its diamonds are smuggled out each year. This lost tax revenue makes the government less able to spend its money on developing its citizens. One result of this is a low HDI score, which is the UN's Human Development Index, which measures health, education, and quality of life. The Congo scores a 0.481, which ranks it 180th out of 193. This score is similar to countries with aggressive, authoritarian governments like Afghanistan, or countries still in civil wars like Yemen. Another issue is the terrain in the Congo. As you can probably tell by these maps, the Congo is mostly made up of rainforest. This makes transportation difficult. The terrain makes road and rail construction nigh impossible, and air travel remains the only means of transportation connecting most of the country. This makes economic development much harder and centralization impossible. Without efficient transportation, the nation will never be able to develop economically. As nations become more interconnected, their economy grows proportionally. For instance, look at the graph of US GDP after the interstate highway system is built, which connects all major US population centers. So what can be done about this? Well, first of all, nothing can be rectified until the country stabilizes. I'm not an expert in regional Congolese politics, unfortunately, but perhaps more regional autonomy would help. Forming a confederation or splitting into several nations entirely. Yet, even with more stability, the Congo would still face several key issues, most importantly transportation. Yet, with more budget to spend on infrastructure instead of the military, an expansion of their highway system could be vital to boosting the economy, as well as making better use of its rivers. The Congo has more navigable rivers than any other country in Africa, and with more investment in things like canals and making their waterways more accessible, this could help solve their interconnectivity issues. Another thing to highlight would be increasing the safety of their airline, Congo Airways, as it's currently banned in the European Union due to safety concerns. So, with its issues solved, at least partially, where could the Congo go from here? Well, no longer held back due to geography and instability, the Congo has many things going for them. For example, building dams on their extensive river systems to generate large amounts of renewable power that they could then export to nearby countries, increasing taxes and worker protections in the mining industry, and cracking down on smuggling. Additionally, the increased stability may bring back foreign investors to the country who left after the multiple wars and instability. This increased foreign investment could have a dramatic effect on the DRC's economy. The country has a large population, large supplies of natural resources, cheap labor, and is somewhat close to the United States. Although, likely not as dramatic, with enough investment in the country, the Congo could follow a similar trajectory to China, whose cheap labor led them to become the largest manufacturer in the world. This manufacturing boom would also be helped by the large supplies of cobalt in the Congo, which are needed for lithium-ion batteries. Lithium-ion batteries are used in many things, just about anything that has a rechargeable battery. Your smartphone, your laptop, and even power tools all need lithium-ion batteries to function. And the DRC is the largest producer of cobalt in the world. Demand for cobalt is only increasing due to electric vehicles requiring large lithium-ion batteries. If they can capitalize on this demand to ensure higher wages and more tax revenue for the government, this could greatly help the Congo become a developed nation. And, I almost forgot to mention, the Congo has the largest city in Africa, Kinshasa, which also happens to be their capital. With a population of 17 million, and with new funding from taxes on manufacturing and mining, Kinshasa could undergo rapid economic development and bring the rest of the country with it. Hopefully one day, the Democratic Republic of the Congo will take its place near the richest and most developed countries on the continent.